Greetings, lovers of lore. Thank you for joining me for another installment of Fun Magic the Gathering lore. Today, we're going to be going back into Magic's ancient past and dealing with the character that has the most ridiculous name in Magic the Gathering history. Now, I'm going to put the name up on the screen for you. Feel free trying to pronounce this. I mangled it a number of times, so I'm just going forward calling her Asmor. Now, Asmor, when we first meet her, is a mage who is in dire straits. She has summoned up a Lord of the Pit, which is an incredibly powerful being that rules over its own miniature hell plane. And as a result of summoning this Lord of the Pit up, she is bound into a contract where she is required to feed this Lord of the Pit to maintain his presence on the plane, and if at any point she isn't able to feed him, then she becomes his food. So when she originally summoned this Lord of the Pit up, she had intended to feed a number of wasps from a nearby wasp nest to it, but unfortunately for her, a massive gust of wind flew up and blew the wasps just enough out of reach that they were able to quickly fly away, sensing the presence of the Lord of the Pit. Now, this caused the Lord of the Pit to start chuckling. "Well, human, you promised to feed me. What now?" Asmor tried to flatter the Lord of the Pit. "Great Dark Lord, you certainly wouldn't want to eat," and she was cut short. "Where is my food, little wizard?" "Great Lord, your food has escaped." "That's your problem, not mine." "Right, Dark Lord, as you say. Where is my food?" Asmor looking in every direction desperately, but there was nothing around. She needed to buy some time. "If I could just..." "No," the Lord of the Pit boomed. "I could entertain you," she said. "I can dance, I can sing." The Lord of the Pit responded, "My entertainment comes from watching foolish little mages squirm and die. That's why I appeared. Why else would I answer your summoning? I want to watch you beg and then die." "Surely there must be something I can do to appease you, great Lord," said Asmor. "Enough! I hunger." Asmor, out of desperation, said something that sounded absolutely absurd. "I can cook." Somehow this actually got the attention of the Lord of the Pit. His belly rumbling, he said, "Cook what?" Asmor responded, "Anything. I can cook anything." This caused the Lord of the Pit to pause. "Anything?" The Lord of the Pit was reflective at this moment. He murmured about how he was very bored of what he had been eating, the same things over and over. Asmor seized on the opportunity. "I can do better. I swear it. I am incredible in the kitchen." A speculative look entered the eyes of the Lord of the Pit, and there was a long, dreadful pause. Asmor passed the time during this pause by counting every massive hammering of her heart. After a pause that was entirely too long, the Lord of the Pit rumbled, "You may have just saved your life, little mage." Asmor was fearful. "What do you intend, great lord?" The Lord of the Pit responded, "You are a brave fool. For 7 years and 7 days you will serve me. You will prepare my every meal, and I will be amazed. If I am ever not amazed by any of your creations, I will eat you instead." Asmor stamped her foot in indignance. "This is entirely unfair." The Lord of the Pit, with a wry smile on his face, responded, "Well, fair would be for me to eat you now. Those were the terms of our agreement." Asmor hesitated for a moment and realized she had no choice, so she accepted the offer. The Lord of the Pit wasted no time. He immediately started rambling on about all of his dislikes. "I don't want to eat dwarves, goblins, elves. I'm tired of all of them, and I will destroy you if you serve me asparagus. I can't stand it. Shouldn't you be taking notes?" And with that, Asmor was whisked away to a near lightless hell, the domain of the Lord of the Pit. She was given imp servants, but they were really more watchers than servants, and they had the really obnoxious habit of eating all of her clothing when she wasn't around. But Asmor didn't have much time to worry about that. She immediately set to work. In the first year that she was a prisoner of the Lord of the Pit, she learned more about cooking than most people would ever know. The Dark Lord was particular. He liked variety, but there were limits, and every single meal had to contain meat. A wide variety of different dishes were prepared by Asmor. Imp stew, cream of serpent soup, merfolk fillet, cubed Pegasus with dragonfly garnish, basilisk eyes served in the paste of the gigantic island fish Jesconius, and with desserts like frozen Sprite Delight. The Dark Lord was pleased with these creations, and as a result, he started to invite guests. He would have great feasts where he would expect Asmore to not only impress him, but also to impress all of his hellish visitors. Sometimes during these feasts, Asmore would have to excuse herself because while the Lord of the Pit's friends were giant, intimidating monsters, the way they consumed food came across as comical to her, so she would have to retreat to the kitchen trying to stifle laughter into her hand because otherwise the Lord of the Pit would fly into a massive rage. And the truth is, underneath it all, Asmore had actually started to desire the approval of the Lord of the Pit. It was a high point in her day when the Lord would visit her kitchen after one of these feasts to commend her on the meal she had created. She was especially pleased because she wasn't dealing with the best circumstances. Not only was there the fear of losing her life, but also the kitchen servants that she was given were drudge skeletons, and these mindless constructs were only capable of certain levels of work, and in some cases actually ended up spoiling her meals. If, for example, she had something stewing a day in advance, sometimes because the skeletons had been instructed to clean out the cauldrons, they would ruin multiple days' worth of work, leading Asmore scrambling to come up with a new meal on short notice. At the midpoint of her servitude, after one of these magnificent feasts, the Dark Lord appeared in the kitchen, his wings scraping the top of the ceiling. "A fine job you've done, little mage. How do you manage?" Asmore, feeling far more comfortable around the Lord than she used to, sarcastically responded, "It's out of fear of you, Dark Lord." The Lord of the Pit chuckled. "You are gifted. Honestly, I thought you were trying to trick me and would say anything to save your worthless skin when we met, but you've done well. It would genuinely be a pity to eat you. You have me worried." Asmore was curious. Worried? What could possibly worry you? The Lord of the Pit shot back, "What will I eat when you go? There's no going back. I can't eat the garbage that I used to eat. You've ruined my palate. If you will make a cookbook of all of your recipes, I'll provide everything that you need to do so. And as a result, it will be much easier for me to train a chef to be your replacement once you're gone." Asmore considered the proposal, and on one hand, it would help her to pass the time, but on the other hand, she really didn't want to go to all the effort of writing out an entire cookbook. So the Lord of the Pit offered to have his imps record the cookbook for her. All she would have to do is dictate the contents. Asmore agreed, but only on the condition that she would be given enough resources to make 20 copies of the Underworld cookbook. This made the Lord of the Pit curious. What possible need could you have for 20 copies of the same book? Asmore explained that the plan was to provide one to him and to sell the extra copies so that she would have some profit when the time came for her to leave the underworld. The Lord of the Pit agreed to these conditions, and things progressed as normal. Time passed, more meals were created: barbecued throat wolf, deep-fried dryad, sesame hydra salad, gazban tenderloin, and many other wondrous creations. 6 months after the cookbooks were fully completed, Asmore was greeted with bad news. Only 2 copies of the book had sold. The Dark Lord had his copy, and the only other copy had been acquired by Asmore's mother. Asmore was absolutely furious. Why is this? Why is no one buying the cookbook? The imps couldn't be certain, but they said it was most likely because a large number of the denizens of hell aren't actually capable of reading. In a fit of pique, Asmore instructed the imps to destroy the cookbooks, burn the rest of these books. From that point on, things went as they had until there was 1 year left in the agreement. Again, the Lord of the Pit arrived, lavishing praise on Asmore and asking, "You will soon be free of me. What will you do?" Asmore said that she wasn't quite sure what she was going to do, and the Lord of the Pit seized on this. "You could stay here. You could continue to be my cook." Asmore shot back, "There's no way that's going to happen. You can't possibly pay me enough to stay here." The Lord of the Pit accepted this and departed for the time being. Now, it turned out that the imps hadn't actually listened. They didn't burn the cookbooks. Being lazy and indolent, what they did instead was they fired the tomes down an ancient garbage chute located in a remote corner of hell. Unbeknownst to them, somehow, that garbage chute actually led to the overworld. And as a result, the remaining underworld cookbooks had made their way into the hands of different individuals up in the overworld. And as a result, a massive bag of letters had arrived. A number of different individuals desperately wanted to speak with Asmor. And a lot of these letters were very, very angry. So the imps decided, you know what, Asmor's going to be pretty angry. We don't want her serving us up as one of the meals. So you know what we're going to do? We're actually just going to bury this bag of letters. She doesn't need to see this. On the last day of the 7 years and 7 days sentence that Asmor was given, the Lord of the Pit once again appeared. Asmor, please stay with me. I can't imagine existence without you around. I'm willing to make you the queen of this entire realm. This absolutely stunned Asmor, and she was lost for words. The truth was, she had grown fond of the Lord of the Pit over the time she had been here, but she knew there was no way she could continue to reside here, so she regretfully declined his offer. The Lord of the Pit looked dismayed, but he accepted what she had to say and inquired, "What will be the final meal you'll be preparing for me?" "Your final meal will be heirloom tartare." This caused the Lord of the Pit to break out into a big grin. "You remember how much I enjoy it. You do like me." Asmor waved that away, but betrayed herself by saying quietly afterwards, "I also made several jars of taco maggot jam so that you can have breakfast the next day as well after I'm gone." The Lord of the Pit said, "Join me for a final meal." Asmor wryly responded back, "Do you mean to share the heirloom, or will you be consuming me?" The Lord of the Pit chuckled and said, "Oh, I have this for you as well," and tossed over the bag of letters that had been unearthed by his underlings. Asmor was too excited about her imminent departure to bother checking out the letters, so she prepared to head off back into the overworld. And after 7 years and 7 days, she was finally free. And it was summertime on the overworld. Glorious summer. The feeling of the sun on her skin was so absolutely amazing that she just stood there basking in it for so long that she developed a massive sunburn, just allowing her toes to settle down into the grass. This was interrupted when the sun was blotted out by a massive granite gargoyle flying overhead, and it landed in front of her. "You are Asmora?" it asked. She nodded. The gargoyle growled, "You have made me a hunted beast. Prepare to die. Nobles wish to consume gargoyles now. They send orc raiders into our dens, seeking to gain riches through the destruction of my kind." Asmor was panicked. It had been a long time since she had used magic, and there was no way she was going to be able to defeat this gargoyle. Instead, she turned towards, Wait! This was a joke, okay? I don't know how the cookbooks made it out here into your hands, but they were originally meant as a joke. Think about it. No implements exist that can even carve your skin. Am I correct? She held her breath, waiting for the response from the gargoyle, knowing full well that tools do exist to carve gargoyle flesh, as she had used them to prepare gargoyle flesh for the Lord of the Pit. Luckily for her, this was enough to calm down the gargoyle. She had the ability then to go on and explain, "I made the cookbook to make nobles look like fools. After they fail to acquire ingredients like you, they will realize that this is absolutely a fool's errand, and to save themselves embarrassment, they will quietly drop the subject, and you'll never hear from them again." The gargoyle looked at her somewhat mistrustfully, but accepted what she had to say. As it winged away, it declared, "If you're lying, I will return." That was only the first of many visits of that type. Time and time again, different beasts would show up at Asmore's door seeking vengeance. And it all actually ended when an ogre showed up seeking vengeance for the fact that all of his brother's toes had been consumed by the nobility. Asmora finally seized on a plan and said to the ogre, "I finally sorted out what's going on. The people who are eating these delicacies, it's the goblin kingdoms, the elven kingdoms, the dwarven kingdoms. They've all sent emissaries to me, begging me to become their head chef. These are the ones who are feasting on all of you different monsters." It had become obvious to Asmore over time why this had happened. Because the Lord of the Pit was tired of eating goblins, elves, dwarves, and these other humanoids, Asmore had never prepared them, and thus there were no recipes for them whatsoever in the cookbook. Conspiring with the ogre, Asmore said, "Here's what we're going to do. I need you to go and gather up ingredients because we're going to make a new cookbook. A cookbook that features goblins, elves, dwarves, and more." So, my friends, that ends the story of Asmore. I hope you found this lore to be enjoyable. I do love it when we get to talk about these ancient characters from Magic the Gathering history. And I have to say, Asmore is a very interesting character specifically. So, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoy the lore that I make here, consider either joining the Patreon or the channel membership. Thanks for coming by, and remember, my friends, lore is life.